Do you want to create a lasting legacy? Then keep watching. Hi, this is Carma Spence, your legacy creation mentor. And in today's special episode of the Weekday Wisdom, I'm going to be chatting with Aaron Gendle, author of Conquest, 10 Simple Steps to Conquer Life and Leave a Lasting Legacy. So Aaron, why did you write Conquest? What's your story? Why are you interested in creating a lasting legacy?
Well, good question, Carma. Thank you so much for asking. It was a long road to create my book, Conquest, and it really started out about 5 years ago. I got incredibly sick and didn't know what was happening to me. I, at the time, had one child and another one right on the way. I was actually living in California. That's where I grew up, and my wife and I ventured there for some time, lived in Southern California. Things were going well. We decided to move back to Iowa, where her family's from, and just thought it might be better for our family to have other relatives around and just that support, right? So all along the way, though, it was there were a lot of changes, obviously, that happen when you move. But then on top of that, we were having a second child. We were also considering building a custom home, and I was considering a new job, which was all happening all at the same time. And so that said, it led me to a point, as you can imagine, I had a lot of stress, and trying to make all that happen at one time. And believe it or not, actually, before we'd moved, I was running a fitness gym and actually owned a gym there, and kind of let that all go in the process, or the habits I had created, to kind of let those go while I was moving into, moving back to Iowa, and didn't consciously think of that. But as I'm, looking back, all of that, I think, culminated into, me getting very sick and having some major problems. And I didn't know what was going on at first. And it took actually several weeks, or probably actually more than a month, for me to even think about going to the doctors. I was a little scared. I didn't know, what they'd say. So I took that step, and the results, there was no results right away. They had to do more tests and whatnot. But I'm the kind of person that does a lot of research, a lot of, if I need to find something out, I go find it out. And obviously in our day and age, there's a lot of information. So I went and did that, and started to kind of self-diagnose myself with what's called IBD, or irritable bowel disease, and a specific form of that called Crohn's. And I didn't want to believe that was the case, but everything I kept reading kind of led me to that. And so I started to seek out information around, hey, well, what's maybe some things I could do to change where I'm at now. And so all of this, I guess, that led me to a point where I started to think harder about what I was thinking about in my life, the things that had going on with my family, and what was really important. It culminated into me writing Conquest, in that short story is that I was able to overcome all of my health conditions through things that I did naturally, and I never took any medicine, and I just took all these steps to make it happen. And what I found, that a lot of what I did physically helped tremendously, right? And I think the biggest part was the mindset that I had. The mindset that I had wasn't working well for a happy life and a life of health. So I knew along the way, I recognized that I had to change these things. And it really drove me to create a legacy, or to think about my legacy at that time, because I had small kids. I had my son was just born probably a month after I had all these health problems. And I really started to think, hey, I want to play with my kids. I want to be there for them. I want to, I want to be there for them for a long time. I want to be able to support them. At the time, I was the only one providing for us financially. So that's my background, my story, and why I created the book. At the end of the day, I created the book. My legacy, my ideas around legacy are probably different now than when I wrote the book, even because I was very focused on actually writing it for my family, my kids, and anybody else who might have gone through what I was going through. And I was trying to help in any way I can. If my kids growing up later down the road or great grandkids, I knew that a book could be there for them to experience, maybe set them up for success more than what I could do if I wasn't there, right? And that information and knowledge and what I experienced was documented in a way that could help them.
Well, legacy, the idea of legacy, it started off as meaning passing money down to the next generation. But
Yeah,
over time, it's grown to mean much more than that, because
yeah,
not all of us can leave a financial legacy.
sure.
We can make a footprint in the future. So what does legacy mean to you?
Yeah, so now on top of family and really setting up my family, and I have 4 kids actually now.
Wow.
As far as uh, I think I don't really think as financially as much as you said. That might be a way to consider it. I think of the way I raise my kids, now I believe wholeheartedly that the mindset that I'm giving or helping to raise my kids with the right mindset to set them up to do to be successful in whatever venture they are and to create that success for themselves and their lives. So that's one aspect of it. And I've now, since writing Conquest, I'm on this mission to help as many people as I can to write a book. And because I believe, as I mentioned before, books are going to be there long after we're gone. And if you look at some of the, take a good look at just even some of the most brilliant people, billionaires out there and CEOs, whatever you might say, all these people are reading books to make huge impacts in the world to become better. And so I believe books are just a huge way that I feel every one of us having a story to tell can help leave a legacy down the road for generations, right?
Absolutely. And you touched on two aspects of legacy that in my definition of it, yeah, children in general are a legacy. I mean,
Yeah.
however they end up, they impact the world and you helped them become whatever impact they have. And I know I always wanted to be a parent. It didn't work out for me. So I still want to leave. I still want to leave an impression on the planet, and
Yeah.
books are a great way to do it. I mean, think about one of the most famous books, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
The man who wrote it had a lot of failure in his life and really wasn't as successful as he wanted to be, and yet his book has changed lives and continues to change lives like decades later. I mean, it'll probably be around a century after he left and still am helping people. So I think books are really, really important, which is why both of us help people write books.
Yeah.
So now in your book is called Conquest, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's got the subtitle, and I really had a hard time making the connection between the word conquest and the phrase lasting legacy. How did those two go together for you in that book?
Conquest. I think there's 2 areas of conquest. I was talking about that first, I guess. In the book, I talk about conquest, meaning conquering what I did in my life, right? And I talk a lot of the chapters, only one chapter, and it's a big chapter, that talks through like the actual steps I took from a health perspective to kind of get through what I did. But the other chapters really talk about the conquest in my mind and what it took mentally to overcome that condition, and helping the readers and potentially take those steps in their own lives to have conquest, right? And I close out the book with legacy, and it's one of the final chapters, because it all culminated into me writing this book and encouraging the reader really to consider writing a book themselves, because of not only the impact of it can have on others, but on themselves. And what I discovered was that I became such a better person by writing the book also. And the legacy I at the time was really focused on as well was, again, like I said, my kids, and I really had them in mind when I wrote it. So maybe I hoped it flowed as well as I wanted to, but that was my thinking process. As I went through the book, I conquered, and I was giving the readers some helpful ideas and tips that I used both practically and mentally to overcome what I did. And then it culminating to me writing this book and encouraging the listeners that, hey, you can overcome whatever you've got. I'm sure a lot of people have overcome things in life, or they can overcome them. And if so, a big part of what they should do afterwards is write about it and share it with the world.
If there was one piece of advice or takeaway that you wanted people to have after reading that book, what would it be?
I would say that the biggest thing that's created the joy and the success and the life that I live now is because I've taken the time to reflect. And my whole, I think back, and if I hadn't, a lot of people would have taken different steps or take different steps, and not to say my steps work for everybody, but essentially if I would have taken a different road and maybe just relied on medical medicine and things like that, and didn't reflect and do the work to discover what it is that I could have done to fix my issues without that, then it probably wouldn't have led me to where I am now. And I think each of us needs to self-reflect. I think there's just a lack of that in general, and it's taken me to where I understand now a lot of what had to change was in my mind. And I would say that if you get a chance, pick up a book, read it, and try to really understand if there's something in your life that you can do better and change. And it's small things, one day at a time. Over time, those things will make a huge difference in your life and in your mindset, and the way you think will attract those things that you want in your life, and you'll be blessed because of it. So I think those sums it up.
Sounds good. So if someone wanted to learn more about you or possibly be on the podcast that you had me on,
yeah,
where would they go?
Sure. So you can go to writeabookuniversity.com. That's and there's a free course there. Actually, you can go writeabookuniversity.com/free. You can get a free 4-lesson course that'll help you on your journey to write a book. You can also find me on dailyauthors.com, where if you are an author, I'm interviewing. My mission is to interview an author daily, or at least 5 days a week here, and get the message out about books and tell other people's inspiring stories to encourage the listeners just to think big and go for it.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the Weekday Wisdom.
Thank you so much, Carma. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed today's Weekday Wisdom. I will be back in 2 weeks. And if you would like this video, please put the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one. Hi, this is Carma Spence, the just had a sudden brain fart.